Hey everyone, this is Jesse from the Janjo Zone. If you're just joining this channel, definitely subscribe if you like retro Yu-Gi-Oh content. And if you're already a subscriber and want to support the channel even more, definitely check out my merch, TCG Player Affiliate, or my Patreon, all of which are in the description down below. So with that said, let's get started.
Dual sauce, extra sauce. Hit that subscribe.
So I wanted to do this video for kind of a while. I've done similar videos of previous packs. I've done Legend of Blue Eyes normal monsters. I've done Metal Raiders machines. When it comes to the third set of Yu-Gi-Oh! Spell Ruler or Magic Ruler, Potato, is definitely a big set for introducing a lot of very powerful, even to this day, spell cards in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! So in this video, I'm going to talk about the top 10 spell cards in Spell Ruler. So let's just jump right into it. So the first card we are talking about at number 10 is Giant Trunade. Giant Trunade returns all spells and trap cards on the field to the hand. This is a very good card. It's not as good as Heavy Storm back in Metal Raiders, but it's still a very great card. It lifts everything from the field, which sure, it doesn't destroy cards, but also allows you to abuse stuff with this as well. You can use this to not destroy your own trap cards, you can just reset them. You can use it for equipped spell cards to reuse them, like a Premature Burial. There's a lot of utility with Giant Trunade, and it sees play now and again in a variety of formats if it's legal. But just because it isn't as impactful or as inherently great some of the other cards, I feel like number 10 was a good place for this. Now, number 9, we have Axe of Despair. Axe of Despair is an equipped card that the equipped monster gains 1,000 attack, and when it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you contribute one monster and place the card to the top of your deck. So this card is a really great equipped spell card. For a while, it was, quite frankly, the strongest one there was, barring some of the other enhancement kind of ones like United We Stand and Mage Power. When it came to just a single card, 1,000 attack was a huge boost. It immediately eclipsed all the other equipped cards in the game. Everything from Malevolent Nuzzler to Horn of the Unicorn to Stim Pack. It just beat out everything until some other cards came around. But the fact is that its inherent value of gaining that 1,000 attack is nothing to be short-sighted of. It's a very powerful attack boost, one that you don't really see too often in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot of equipped cards kind of tend to be somewhere between the 500 700 attack range, maybe 800, but 1,000 is very rare for an equipped spell card. The fact that it just blew out so many equipped cards is a very great honor for the card to have, and that's why I got number 9. Alright, so number 8, we got Megamorph. While your life points is lower than your opponent's, the equipped monster's attack becomes double. While your life points are higher, the equipped monster's attack is cut in half. So this card it may not seem like the greatest thing ever, but it was used in a lot of OTK decks. We've seen this with Cyberstein, Cyber Twin Dragon. There's a lot of different things you can use to OTK with Megamorph, because immediately with Cyberstein, you're already paying 5,000 life points, which is a lot of life points, right? So you're using that, and then you summon a very powerful monster, whether it's Master of Oz, Cyber Twin, Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, and then all of a sudden you get a one-hit KO. We've seen this a lot in, let's say, like video games. I know Kaiba likes to use it a lot. But we've seen it now and again, both in the TCG and OCG, and it's definitely one of those equipped cards that, like, wow, yeah, you gotta be afraid of this one if you see a deck using it, because they can end the duel just like that. It's not the most splashable card. It's very specific, but I think its notoriety in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is good enough for a number 8 slot. Alright, for number 7, we got Confiscation. You pay 1,000 life points and you look at your opponent's hand, select one card, and discard that card. This is a very good card. Not only do you get to see your opponent's hand, but you get to rip a card straight from it. Now, there's some other cards that you may be aware of that are similar to Confiscation that came out in Spell Ruler. But I think Confiscation is the weakest of them, only because it's really a one-for-one, and the card you're discarding, if you're playing in some later formats, they can use it for a variety of things, whether it's like a Monster Reborn, Bazoo the Soul Eater, Skull Lair, Chaos Monsters. Like, damn, you can accidentally field their Chaos plays with this. So there's definitely some downside to it, plus you're losing 1,000 life points, and you're going 1-for-1, pretty much. But that's not to say the card is bad, it certainly is good. There's a lot of stuff great for it. I'm just saying compared to some of the higher slots. So having number 6, compared to all the other cards, I think is a fair place to put it. So number 5, we got Snatch Seal. Yeah, there's a lot of great equip cards in Spell Ruler. Snatch Seal, you equip to a monster your opponent controls, and you take control of that. During each of your standby phases or your opponent's standby phases, they gain 1,000 life points. This card is like a retrain Change of Heart in many ways. You take control of your opponent's monster, but the plus side is that you can keep it for as long as you want. And that's great. Sure, your opponent can gain 1,000 attack. Sure, you need this card to stay on the field, but this is a great card for game enders, much like Change of Heart could be. With Snatch Seal, you're put on that constant pressure that, sure, if you don't kill them the first turn, you still have that monster. You still need to force your opponent to handle it in some sort of way, whether it is back row control or monster removal. There's a lot of great things that Snatch Seal can do, and really has proven itself throughout the history of its meta viability, and just any sort of stealing card that you can use right away is great. You can use it for tributes, attacking, what have you. It's Change of Heart in equip form, and that's just great. So I don't know where my original footage for this went, but I actually forgot about the Forceful Sentry. Forceful Sentry is a pretty good spell card. I don't think many people think it's a bad card by any stretch of the means, but just compared to the cards later down this list, it's not as good. I think it's on the same level as a Snatch Seal, so it kind of shares the same spot as a Snatch Seal. I think it's better than like a Confiscation, and depending on which format you're playing in. But you know, Forceful Sentry is really good, and if it wasn't for the other cards, this would be higher down the list. Higher down? I don't know how lingo with these countdowns work. It's just, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, this is where I'm putting it. It's a Snatch Seal position, so fixed it. Haha. So number 4, we got Delinquent Duo. This is one of the holy trinity cards of the GOAT format. You pay 1,000 life points, and your opponent discards a random card, and if they have any other cards in their hand, they have to discard one more card of their choice. This is much better than Confiscation. You're still paying 1,000 life points, but then they have to discard 2 cards, so you can rip a lot of great cards out of their hand. Sure, it could fuel the Chaos plays, but you're ripping so much cards that could be advantage to them to have in their hand that they now cannot use. They are down 2 cards. And to reduce a hand size like that by 2 is really great. You can stop a lot of cards. You can get rid of a lot of very powerful cards. And especially for combo decks, it can really cripple combo decks. So Delinquent Duo does a lot of really great stuff. The fact still remains that it is a very powerful card for what it can do. And I think Delinquent Duo is just an incredible card, and if it wasn't for some of the other great cards from the set, it may be higher on the list, but hey, number 4 ain't too shabby. Alright, so number 3, we got Upstart Goblin. Some of you may put this card higher on the list, but with Upstart Goblin, you draw 1 card and your opponent gains 1,000 life points. This is one of the simplest draw cards in the game. You know, Pedigree lets you draw 2 cards, Upstart lets you draw 1. This is so simple. Sure, they gain 1,000 life points, but a lot of times when you throw this in a deck, you're essentially cutting a card out of your deck. It's a very generic card, but generic cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Tend to be the scariest ones. It is very powerful just for that draw power alone. It lets you quickly get into your pieces that much quicker than some other cards. Yeah, it's not pot agreed, but you know what? It may be the next best thing. Number 2, we got Mystical Space Typhoon. While Metal Raiders did introduce Heavy Storm as a very powerful back row removal, Spell Ruler had Mystical Space Typhoon, which is to this day one of the best just generic back row removal cards. It's a quick play spell card, and you target 1 spell and trap on the field, destroy it. It's a quick play, so you can activate it during your opponent's turn, which is really great. You don't have to worry about destroying your own back row cards. It just destroys 1 on the field, whatever you want it to be, spell, trap, field, it doesn't matter. Yeah, nowadays we have plenty of monster effects that remove back row stuff, or other crazy cards like Evenly Match or Twin Twisters, but for the longest time, for quite a long time, Mystical Space Typhoon was that solid spell trap removal card. Like, this was the one that you wanted to play. And when it came to just spell cards and Spell Ruler, it's very hard to get much better than Mystical Space Typhoon. So number 2 is one of the best cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! For a long time. Just for some honorable mentions, I want to throw out Black Pendant for its Reversal Quiz OTK, Messenger of Peace for it being a great card in stalled decks, Final Destiny for just being weird, and Toon World because it facilitates Toon cards, so you can't really ignore that. So, number 1. For number 1, we got Painful Choice. I stand by saying that this is one of the most powerful cards in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! Painful Choice is absolutely bonkers. You select 5 cards from your deck and you reveal them to your opponent. Your opponent selects one of them and adds it to your hand, while the others get sent to the graveyard. This is great in so many ways. Sure, you could facilitate chaos plays with it. You can use it with other decks like Fire Princess Burn deck, as I've done a deck profile for. You can use it to thin your deck out by a ton of cards, get rid of a ton of cards that you don't need. Fill up your graveyard if you need to use it for the graveyard for anything. And plus, you're still getting a card added to your hand regardless. And especially with the modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Or graveyard play, really the graveyard is your second deck. Painful Choice, there's absolutely no way it would ever come back unless it got errataed. Painful Choice is just such a broken card and is so powerful. It incorporates 5 different cards from your deck. These are cards that aren't already in your hand. This is giving you resources to use. This is helping you get into other pieces faster. There's just so much Painful Choice does right, and I don't think anything other than number 1 would be right, so definitely number 1, Painful Choice. So let me know what you think about this list. What are your favorite cards from Spell Rulers? What is your opinion on what the top 1 should be? Let me know if you want to see other lists like this. Definitely let me know in the comments below. Also check out my Discord if you want to continue the conversation further. So, of course, until I see you all next time, have a wonderful day.
My grandpa's deck has no pathetic cards, Kaiba.